Hi everybody. It is Saturday night and this is my garden tank. And I've come in here to do a little bit of tank maintenance. I'm going to work on this tank. I'm probably going to work on this whole entire garden area. When I say tank, I kind of mean my sort of garden area here, not the individual tanks. But not really sure what I want to do just yet. I'm probably going to work on quite a few of the tanks while I'm down here. Again, it's a Saturday night, just coming in here to get some stuff done. So I thought we would look around a little bit before I got started. So first of all, you can see I need to get in here and deadhead these daylilies. I've got a few left that haven't bloomed, but quite a few of them already have. So I'm going to have to go around. You can see I got these dead ones here. I'll have to go ahead and deadhead those. Probably need to get in and water some of these little planters. Generally don't have to do it every day, but at least every other day I need to come in and water these smaller planters. So we'll get in here and we'll do that. My dead nettles back here look really good. I don't really need to do anything with this. I do have some fern that died off. Maybe we'll trim some of that out of there. I'm really happy to see the fern back here is blooming, but we'll get to that in just a minute. I definitely want to get in and change the filters in the, change the filter pads in the filter back here. And I don't know what I'm going to do in this tank. I'm definitely going to do a water change, and I really need to get in and wipe down the front glass. If you look in through there, it looks like a swamp. But it's not actually. If you look down in through the water itself, the water is crystal clear. I've just got a ton of algae growing in the tank now for fairly obvious reasons. So all that green slime you can see all over those rocks, that's just that long maidenhair algae. It's a long, it's a filamentous algae. It's very, very long strands. It's really pretty actually, if you can sort of get over the gross slimy look and forget that it's, just sort of this algae that'll take over your tank if you're not careful. It's also called maiden's tresses occasionally. I've always called it maiden's hair algae, but I have seen it called maiden's tresses as well. So I doubt I'm going to worry about that. I doubt I'm going to do anything. I have thrown a bunch of snails in the tank in hopes that they'll eat some of it. And I saw some earlier, and let's see, I can see a couple right now. So I got a few there, and then I've got a few right there by the stone crop. And now that we're zoomed in, can you see how tiny those little leaves are versus some of those bigger, broader leaves? Those bigger, broader leaves are what I recognize this stone crop to look like. If we come around here, this stuff back here actually looks pretty bad because it's not really getting any light. But this is more of it. And again, it would be doing a lot better if it was getting light. So I guess that doesn't make a really good comparison. But let me see if we can find some of the older growth here. Here's some of the older growth. See how thick and broad these leaves are? That's what I tend to think of as this stone crop looking like. When we get in here and we're down to this really, really tiny little leaves that you can see developing on that, that is just because it's getting an enormous amount of light. And it's just growing in really compact like that. It's kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how it's actually going to develop over time. My creeping Jenny is just doing fantastic. It took a little hit when I transplanted it and dug it up and moved it in here. It took a few days for it to sort of recover and start growing. But now that it has, it's really taken off. Both here and over on this side, both of these planters have the same creeping Jenny in it. And this piece is doing really well. I keep trying to move it over and extend it out further and further, but every time I do, it either falls that way or it wants to fall right there where all that growth is. So I'm probably going to leave it like that, and then this piece eventually will come down here and it'll create sort of a cascade effect hanging both down and across. And it's not going to be long before the tanks themselves just sort of get blended in with this to the point where, in my mind, my goal is to have sort of a little gardeny area that happens to have water flowing through it. You could come across a little patch of, garden that has a stream flowing through it or something. The idea is that you don't notice the fish tank per se, you just see the water, and it might not even be prominent. The water might be sort of hidden and tucked away in all of the vegetation, and that's fine. I don't mind that at all. So I do have some more plans. I was measuring and looking today, thinking about some of the other tanks I have in the other room. And then, of course, as I've already mentioned in some other videos, I do have another one of these LED panels just sitting in the other room with nothing to do right now. So this coleus, I think we're going to just go ahead and remove. In fact, we'll just go ahead and take that down right now. Look how vibrant and beautiful that is. So this was a little cutting I made from some coleus we bought. I always, whenever I go out and buy them, I always make cuttings, and then you get free plants. So digging that one, but when it's not there, it's a little more fish tanky looking. So we can probably do something simple. I've actually got this little plant right here. I don't even know what it's called. I think it still has the tag in it, so we could probably find out easy enough. Well, dark mystery, exotic angel plant, and I don't know what that is. So anyway, dark mystery, exotic angel plant, but this is a shade plant, so I think that's probably far enough away and on the periphery that that'll do okay. I don't think that'll be too much light for it, but I don't really like the way that looks. I can already tell you right now that's not going to stay there. I don't like that at all. I definitely like that back down where it was. And even though this is brackish water in this tank, this plant is not sitting in the water. It's sitting up on top of the rocks, and I water it with my actually I water these plants with fish tank water. I water all my house plants with my fish tank water. I always save a bucket full of that, and it makes for great plant food. So we'll do something with this corner. I don't know what. I did want to get back here and have a look at my hostas that are blooming. I think that's pretty cool. So I think maybe when the hostas are done blooming, you can see some more flowers over here. When these are all done, I think maybe these hostas might go. I really didn't think this one through because I don't really know what I'm going to do with these hostas. They're now kind of houseplants. I have them in planters, and they're big and huge, and we don't really have room for giant hosta houseplants because hostas really aren't houseplants. It's not like they're peace lilies or something like that. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with these. I might just let them go dormant, in the planters, and then we can just go plant them back out in the yard somewhere, which won't be an issue at all. Hostas are tough as nails, and we can just put them back out there. Once I'm done with them in here, it'll just be sort of fun to play with them for a little while. So once the hostas are gone, that'll give me, all that room sort of back there and behind it. Like I say, I was doing a little measuring, a little looking the other day, thinking about maybe some options, different things I can do. And then another thing we're going to do, probably not tonight because we still have a few flowers left here that I want to let finish blooming. But once these daylilies are done blooming, it's nothing more than this green foliage that'll just continue to get more yellow and pale as the time goes on. So once they're done flowering, they're done. These planters are getting removed and taken out of here. So at that point, we'll be basically just down to the creeping and climbing kind of stuff. We got this little hosta here. I don't know. I think this might be a late flowering hosta. We might get some flowers on this one midsummer. I'm not sure. I even got a violet weed in there that I didn't pull out all the way. So we might still get some little flowers off of this hosta later. I believe the creeping jenny's done flowering. I know our dead nettles are already done flowering, and we can still see the remnants of the flowers on the stone crop back there. And of course we already got the flower on the iris, so that's already done. I kind of like that iris there for that vertical structure. I know it's hard to see in the video, but it really does go all the way up to just about the ceiling. So this is my main project tonight that I'm going to be working on. I want to get that glass wiped down a little bit, and again I want to remove, pick this up. If you're not familiar with this this is just like a flat tray that's sitting on top of that filter, and when I change the filter out, I don't even pick the tray up. I actually take the top of the filter off. It is a filter just like this one, this Tetra Whisper 60, and I have that tray just sitting on top of there, so when I'm ready to do a water change, I just carefully pick this whole thing up. You know, obviously I'm not holding my camera in my other hand, but I pick that whole thing up, tray and all, and then I take it in the other room and I set it carefully on the edge of a chair so this front, you know, lip hangs over and it just stays nice and vertical, and when I'm ready to put it back on, I just carefully place it back on there. So this is the other tank that we're going to be working on tonight. I do have a clown pleco in here, and I was beginning to wonder if it was still alive, since you can see all of the grunge and everything. I know it's hard to see with all the glare on the tank from the light behind me, but hang on half a second, I'll turn that off. I gotta pretty much do this for every video I shoot now. So judging by all the diatom algae and all the brown grunge on the glass, I kind of was beginning to wonder whether or not he was even still alive in there, because it really should be doing a number on the glass. And if you look in a couple of these spots, like right here and right here, you can see where it sort of cleaned it away and then nothing. And so again, I was beginning to wonder, and then it was either yesterday or the day before, I came in and I saw it down here on this piece of wood, and that wood in there, of course, is nice and bright, clean, and so is this, and there's no diatom back here. And so I've started to notice that it actually is in there, getting the tank cleaned up quite nicely. I know it's hard to see through all this grunge, but the Anubias in there, you can kind of see how bright green that looks. You can sort of see right back here, there's still some patches of all of as much grunge as you see on the glass. That used to be on the Anubias, so it's in there doing its thing. It's definitely getting the tank cleaned up, but I'm going to give it a helping hand tonight. I'm going to get in there and wipe that front glass down and do a simple water change, and, you know, change those filter pads out, which is, you know, that's lickety split with these kind of filters, especially if I'm doing a water change. I just go ahead and do that while I'm doing it. It's all sort of part of the water change to me. So that's probably going to be my Saturday night. Make sure you're subscribed, that way you won't miss anything I got coming up. I guess probably tomorrow we'll be looking around, maybe we'll check out the progress, see what I did to the garden area, and then of course don't forget this one here is my 29 miscellaneous tank. So thanks again for watching, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you real soon in the next one.